we make sure that your, everyone, we make sure that your microphones are turned on, and I'm going to go ahead and set the meeting to record, and it will start in about one. Yes, and we'll start in about 1 minute. And please remember that if your microphones are on, you're being recorded.
Hot mic. Great. All right, I think we're ready.
Hold on 1 second.
Everyone's here, right, or not?
Yes, everyone's here. I just got to set we're ready. We're ready. Go ahead whenever you want to.
Terrific. All right, thank you, everybody, for coming. Different date, different time. Welcome to our audience, too. Thank you so much. Call to order, roll call. It looks like only Kendrick is not here. All right, and our first order of business is items from staff. But I think, isn't it, because we didn't have one this month, so this isn't actually special. That's a good question.
It is special because it's a different.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody. We're going to have a specially called meeting today. Great. And we're going to start with Kim giving us a staff report. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Kim, hold on 1 second.
Did you have it on?
I'm trying to get the.
Okay. So it'll be very short. I'm just going to mention this one thing for the sake of time. I don't want to really give the full report today. I just wanted to let you know about some upcoming activities around our current gallery exhibit, the Alpharetta Art Center. You have this sheet that you'll be picking up in the office after the meeting, but I just wanted to tell you we have 3 illustrators. Mark Brott is the illustrator, the Harry Potter illustrator. We've had a lot of activities around that gallery show in his section of the gallery. We have C.F. Payne, which also, he did the time covers, NAD covers. He's amazing. You'll recognize his work immediately when you see it. And then Laura Freeman, we have actually a really cool dream vision workshop for kids. So we have that during the week event on K-8. So we're very excited about her. And please come and see the show. It'll be there through the beginning of February.
Kim, can you give me just a minute? Because I don't. Do you have something on the projector? Because it's not showing up. So I'm just.
I do. You know what? It's okay. They have it in. I have something for them in the office, and they'll be picking that up. So you have that in your to-go packet. Yeah.
I just mean for the meeting. I can't. I'm not showing what's you're putting on the screen. So I have to figure that out. So.
I have the camera on.
Here
There it is.
Thank you.
We'll need that for the other portion. Okay. And then the only other thing I wanted to do is introduce 3 people that are here that are part of the cultural services staff. I just want them to stand up, wave. I just wanted you to see their face and know who they are. Megan Valela, if you could stand up here, our Art Center supervisor. She oversees the Art Center programming, all the events and things that take place there. It's Toby Smallwood. He's our operations manager, and he does all of our public art, Art Center, log cabin, museum. He resolves a lot of problems for us. Lauren Miller, she is our program coordinator. And how long have you been here, Lauren?
6 months.
6 months now? I was thinking 4 or 5, but I guess it's been 6 months. But we have now a programmer that is dedicated for art classes. She comes from a history background too, so she has that class. So just wanted you to see their faces.
Diana, sorry. Also, are we going to, make a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting?
Thank you. I apologize.
It's okay.
Do you want to finish? We'll finish up this now.
Okay, sure.
I'm finished. Yeah, that's all.
I just have one comment, if you don't mind. The Fulton County school systems have started doing kids tours again, and some of this would be fabulous for that. If you.
It would be wonderful. And if they wanted to come through, we'd be happy to program something.
Yeah. Okay. Just let you know that. Okay. I apologize. I skipped over approval of the minutes because it's actually in that order. So do I have a motion to approve the minutes from last October 26th? Jean has given us a motion. Do I have a second? Mary Beth has given us a second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Okay, unanimously passed. All right. And should we move to public comments. I thought that was usually at the end. All right, I guess I could ask, do we have any public comments? All right, then we will move on to unfinished business. Do we have anything under unfinished business? I don't think so. Awesome, this team rocks. All right, under new business, we have the TPA Group Sculptures, and I believe we have someone here from TPA. Awesome.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Bennett Snyder with TPA. Thank you for having us and allowing us to present our arts package. Jan Lork is with us, and he's going to present the presentation that's been sent out, but just wanted to introduce ourselves and say we've been working hard on this development for the past few years and this arts package, and construction has commenced and started, so we're extremely excited to see the development start to come together and extremely excited to see the arts package come together and come to life in the field. So I'll turn it over to you, Jan, to present.
Thank you so much. I wanted to take you through the package that we have so far. Basically, what we're planning is we're planning six pieces that are going to go eventually in here, and we're presenting 3 of those 6 at this point. As you see on the plan, we've got, I can't point to anything, but at the upper right, there's one that's labeled 1B, which is a circle, and it's going to be at Haynes Bridge. That's an eventual one that we're planning at this point. There's as you come up. Well, maybe I can point to this. Ours is a square. I guess I can point. You sit down here. Does the microphone work?
I'd be more comfortable.
Yeah, see my finger. So this is going to be one at Haynes Bridge that we're going to plan. This is another one that's going to be at the midpoint that we're in planning. This is a third one that is going to be near the amphitheater that we're currently planning. Today I want to talk about 3 of them. One is the cube element that we're planning at a rotary on Lakeview Drive, and his 2 other ones are for the Alpha Loop. We've been asked by the city of Alpharetta to design 2 gateway pieces to the Alpha Loop. One is going to wind up being on Haynes Bridge as you enter the Alpha Loop, which goes behind the property. The second one is going to go as it touches the street as it comes around our project. So what I want to take you through as briefly as possible is what we've been doing over here. What we're doing right now is the entrance at Lakeview, Lake Street. We've named that street Lake Street at this point. That is under construction, and what you're seeing here is that element piece, which is a combination of limestone and metal. And the contractor actually, with options, is also at the meeting with us. So this is under construction. The one that's going to be meeting at Haynes Bridge is currently in design. And this is just a placeholder element for that. On page 3. On page 4, kind of shows you that corner, which we're working on right now. Page 5 shows you a more detailed version of what we've got here for the Lakeview project. Limestone, custom lanterns, custom kind of logo that we developed for the property that's under construction right now. There'll be a similar one on the other side of the street. There'll be a similar one at the midpoint entrance. So very fine kind of architectural materials, limestone, Indiana limestone, and very tightly manufactured custom lanterns and custom frame elements that you see here. So these are on page 6. Some further views on that with the faux hedge element that's incorporated into here. The lighting, I think this in itself is kind of a sculptural entity. The lighting is all custom. The frame element is going to be this kind of element that you see through, which is soon to be installed. limestone on page 8. Page 9 shows you those elements that I spoke of at the very beginning, where they're located and which ones we're currently doing. Not used to doing this old school thing, so excuse me. I wrote down a little bit of the intent of the sculptures here. So we've got we chose the signage elements to be something of modern classical stability, and then the first major piece that we did was the cube piece, and I am calling that balance. And the cube is kind of speaking to architecture, speaking of stability, but also speaking of the dynamics of balance. And the way we're locating that on the rotary piece is something that in itself is kind of tranquil and peaceful in terms of the tension that it winds up having. It is an element that's going to be made of steel I-beams. The gateway pieces that I'm going to show you, again, kind of by happenstance, as we were designing these pieces, we designed these pieces and then only to find out that the logo for the Alpha Loop was this A piece with the infinity loop. So it was a kind of a pleasant design exercise that we did here that you'll see in a minute. So the cube piece is located on the rotary in the location that I have shown you. We do have to have these directional elements that are on the base. Those triangular pieces, those triangular chevrons that tell you which direction to go on the rotary, just in case someone's from the UK, so they don't go the wrong way. That will be installed after this is installed on here. What we did was we've got about a 2-foot grade differential on this, so it's kind of a spherical shape. And then we're putting at the base a large-scale 18-inch monkey grass to be kind of a flowing field for this. This is meant, because it's on a median, it's not meant for somebody to come up to. It's a drive-by element. So what we're doing here, Options has detailed this. It's a series of I-beams that will be put together on site. And the way we've designed it is we've jacked the element up at essentially 18 inches from the grade level, so we can then place the monkey grass at the base, so you will look like it's floating above the monkey grass. On page 16 just shows some details of how those are going to come together, as well as page 7 showing the connection to that piece that's Options has since engineered. Lighting-wise, we tried to look at some lighting with our lighting designers from the TPA team, and then found out that Georgia Power kind of controls that. It's in the median. So what we were able to get is some level of fixtures that would work for this. We've got them pointing in 6 different locations around here. They're pointing up, so they're not pointing at the driver's head eyes. And also, this is a dark, kind of blackish piece, so it's not going to necessarily glow that much during the night. It will be more visible, actually, in the daytime. The second piece, which is at Haynes Bridge and at the back side of the property that I showed you about. There's like a path that comes and intersects with Haynes Bridge. We're locating that in that path. We know that the fire trucks have to go at that point, so they're not going through this. They're going around this. There's going to be some area that the fire trucks can go behind the building. So the pedestrians, the bikers, and everybody would be going underneath this piece. This piece is made of a series of aluminum I-beams, and as you can barely kind of look and see, what we're doing is we're cutting either the name Alpharetta or Alpha Loop through the vertical pieces, and through the infinity piece would be Alpha Loop. We're cutting the web of the beam. So the web is the piece that's vertical. We're going to cut the lettering through that web that's going to be readable. The infinity piece, you can't see it in this illustration, is going to wind up being connected by braided steel cables, and it's going to be tethered in such a way that if somebody was to hang on to it, it's not going to move from side to side. It's going to be tethered tight and floating in the space as you see it here. On page 20, you wind up seeing that cut through on the web. Page 21, we were asked by the previous meeting to kind of look at, show you what it would look like from the standpoint of the building that's going to wind up being in the background. So this is fairly close to Haynes Bridge as an icon piece for the Alpharetta. Page 22 shows another vista of that, and basically the next few images, page 23, are showing you that piece and your impression of that piece as you're going underneath it, what it might look like. I guess I've lost the page numbers here. You're looking at the underside of that. I'm assuming you all can see that on here. I don't know what. I'm looking at these papers, and I'm assuming you're seeing it.
Whatever you have there. Yeah.
So the last one that I'm at right now, you kind of see that, and you can see it cut through the web of the infinity part of this. The next piece is going to be, and you can see the tethers on this one actually. This is a this is two legs with the infinity loop. You can begin to see the braided steel cables that come from the uppermost part of the piece that let it hang, and then there's going to be secondary pieces that won't allow it to go from side to side. So there's going to be the passageway into here. We had two different approaches that we looked at it, and the one that you're seeing on page 24 is the one that's kind of perpendicular to the path as opposed to angular that you see on the next one. So this is the way it would be located. This is the way that the path would go underneath it. This was one that we had as an alternate that we had in the previous, which we prefer the previous one. The materials are going to wind up being painted polyurethane on the steel, painted polyurethane on the aluminum structures. The reason we're going with steel on the cube is the section that we wanted was a 12 by 12 section, which is equilateral, so it would define the cube, and it would allow us to have a very clean connection with all the joints on that one. The next one we decided to go with aluminum because we didn't have that same criteria for that. But they would be painted in the same fashion. So it's meant to mimic blackened steel. And blackened steel is a chemically treated steel that is has a little bit of oxidization to it. And this is real blackened steel. This is the faux blackened steel. So what we're doing is we're painting this with a polyurethane paint, and then after we do this treatment to this, we're going to do a coating on top of the steel because steel is going to have greater potential to rust. And we're going to do a rust inhibitor to this, of course. And then the aluminum we're not as worried about because aluminum doesn't rust. I don't know if you want to add anything to. Okay. And then we had, in this package, Patty put together from options the maintenance guideline. Well, this next piece here just shows you everybody knows what monkey grass is in Atlanta, but I just put that in here. So the idea would be that we're choosing the biggest one because as the wind blows through it, it'll just kind of move nicely and it'll allow this cube to sit nicely on that berm. That's much it. I'm sorry for this uncomfortable way to present here, but hopefully you saw it, and it's a little bit nicer glory in the PDF. So if we have any questions on what we presented, we'd like to open that up.
Yes, let's open it up to questions, and if you don't mind, I'll start. I do have a couple. Could you refresh my mind on what the height is on both pieces? You know, the A looks like they're about at least 3 or 4 stories tall, at least in your rendering.
But it's, I don't have that information with me. I think it's 14 feet to the bottom of the circle. I'd have to pull up a CAD drawing of that, and then another 14. So it's probably somewhere between 25 to 28 feet. I can get an exact number. I don't have that in front of me right now.
That's okay. How about the cube, or the balance?
The cube, I think there's something on there, but I thought it was 20 feet. I don't remember.
20 feet? Okay. 22.
22 or 23 feet.
At its height, how about its width?
Actually, here it is on page
It might be
15.
That's tilted.
It's in inches, thank you. 13 feet on either side of the cube.
Okay.
When it stands up, it's 268.25 inches.
Kim,
22 and a half feet.
Yeah, feet. Awesome. And can you also tell me a little bit about the artist who designed this? Jan Lark, a local person I see, right?
Rob, that's me. And Rob.
That's you. Oh, you designed it. Okay, terrific. Awesome. And
they don't talk.
I don't know, before we're going to have discussion. Any other questions for?
I have another question.
Great.
So,
I just wanna make sure they
is
don't
mine on?
create the sculpture.
Is it on now? Okay, thank you. Could you put back up the plan? Because the 3 areas that you pointed out for the sculptures was different than the first 3, I think, that you said we were starting with. I was just trying to figure out where we are. Because I guess in total, there's going to be 6, and the 3 you showed us, so where are they? Okay,
So we've got a future one at Haynes Bridge that is in design. We've got another one at the intersection of the midpoint, I call it 4B, in design. 3B near the amphitheater, in design. The 3 that we're building right now, the rotary element is on the rotary at Lakeview at this point. The 4-legged one is at Haynes Bridge, behind the property over here, and the 2-legged one is up at the property coming back out onto Lakeview.
okay, thank you. That made that clear.
I don't know if you could see my fingers there.
No, I could, yeah, that was great. I remember you first saying the first 3, and then I thought, well, they aren't there, so, okay. So the other question I had is, are we also deciding on one of them that's 2-legged, at what angle it is crossing the path? That's already been
I think
decided?
The last time when we met with the other group, we decided that it was going to be 90 degrees.
90 degrees, okay,
It's strange to be kind of at an angle.
okay, just curious. And so I like the sculptures. I like them all, so very nice.
I've got a question on finish. You chose a paint finish rather than a chemical process, and I assume because of cost. The question is, does it etch? If I walk up there and I want to carve my wife and my initials into it, is it easy to do because it's a painted process rather than
Just
chemical?
like a car, it's going to be the same finish as a car. If somebody wants to key your car, they'll key your car. It's not going to be, it is a chemical treatment that they're putting onto here, and then there's a coating on top. So when someone scratches through this, Patty, basically, do they scratch all the way to the steel, or do they scratch all the way to the?
Please come forward so I can.
Patty is with Option Signs, they're building the.
I'm Patty Hochert with Option Signs, and we're at 165 Tidwell in Alpharetta. The finish is a paint finish for 2 reasons. One, we're doing a combination of steel and aluminum, and we want them to match. So we're able to do it with that faux finish. The initial, as Jan said, the initial process is a chemical reaction between We put the main primer, like the steel gets its primer, aluminum get its self-etching primer, that base coat. Then we put a paint finish on, and then there's a chemical reaction with another layer of paint that gets to our finish. And once that's done and set up and dried, a final coat of urethane clear goes on, and I'm assuming we're going with a matte clear, so it'll be a,
Yes.
it'll be a matte finish. And that clear is, like he mentioned, what you're going to have on a car. It's very, it's friendly for cleaning. If there's graffiti kind of thing going on it, you can clean it. It's, if somebody takes a knife to it, they are going to be able to carve into it. It would take a lot to carve through the clear into the paint and into the steel. We've not experienced that on any of our work that we've done with this faux finish, but I guess it's possible.
Good question, though.
Go ahead, Matt.
I have a question. You spoke about maintenance of this. How often do you anticipate having to maintain it?
I think it's just like a car. I mean, if you take care of it, it can last forever. If you leave it out in the salt air, which we don't have any here, it's going to not last very long. So it's, you know.
We encourage people, even with signage that has this clear on it, to rinse it off once a year. I mean, it's not something you got to go out and do once a week. It won't, aluminum doesn't rust at all. We'll be very careful with the steel. Obviously, we talked about that. There'll be a lot of coatings around connections and all to stop the steel, any kind of problem with rusting there. So, unless there's a lot of construction around it and you get a lot of dirt flying, maybe with the new construction, they'll want to go out and rinse it off, but you can hose it off with a, just like you would a car.
So the clear coat doesn't need maintenance per se?
No, sir.
No.
And you can clean graffiti off of it. That's
You
a
can.
big plus.
If it comes off, if you get to it, like obviously if it stays a long time, but if you get to it, you can use, on the urethane, you can use certain cleaners and thinners that will get spray paint and marker and that kind of thing off.
We had some sculptures that we installed in South Florida that were gloss white, and within a few weeks, somebody painted graffiti on it, and we were able to clean totally off, and it didn't even eat into the
To the
clear
coating.
coat. So, I mean, if it's properly applied, which we've worked with Options for 30 years now, and they're exceptional fabricators, and I'm sure you're familiar with them here in Alpharetta. So we get the best quality that we can expect in the marketplace from a fabricator like them.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that. Thank you. My question was, if it's left uncleaned for more than a year or two, what kind of weathering would we expect? Like moss, or, I mean, thinking polyurethane is pretty slick, so it's just dusty?
We have clients that don't do anything ever to their signs. And yes, you may have some bird poop on it, collected dust maybe from the job site if there's still a lot of activity going on there, but it doesn't weather. I think it's got a 10-year
Okay.
warranty just by itself with no, if you don't do anything to it. We've had signs out for 20, 30 years that I know the people don't do anything to.
Question for John.
Yeah.
All of these sculptures that you spoke about, I know you said the cube is illuminated by 6 lights. Are the others have lights as well?
We haven't done those yet, but I'm thinking we're going to have some uplights around there, probably 4 around the perimeter of these. Ground lights, they'll be ground lights, they're not internal lights.
Thank you.
So that raises a safety question with me. So in the roundabout, there's no foot traffic, like you said, but the nature of the location of those infinity sculptures, we're expecting people to walk and ride their bike, and so installing lights,
Yeah, but if they're pointed at a 45-degree angle,
I'm thinking tripping hazard.
you
So,
shouldn't be walking on there. Actually, that's the other reason we put monkey grass on there. I mean, you got to tromps through there.
no, well, that's not in the roundabout, the ones that are along the path. That's what I'm concerned about.
Oh, the
So,
lights.
I think there's probably code and guidelines on that, so they'll have to follow those.
Yeah.
Right.
We'll either
Yeah,
do,
I wanted to insert that might help a little bit here. There's, the Alpha Loop has a design guide, that the design and review board follows for these two sculptures, the 2 out of the 3.
Okay.
And so when they send it to us to review and discuss, then they still have to follow these guidelines with those
Okay.
2 sculptures and some of those like lights and things like that. So.
Thank you.
Well, I do appreciate that those two A sculptures are slightly different. That's very nice. I was a little concerned at first about the balance because we do have a tilted cube at Avalon, but this is much larger and a different color. So going forward on your other sculptures, I hope we weren't planning on having those be the cubes, tilted cubes.
No, I think they're going to be very different.
Okay.
Some of the, we may do a piece of playground equipment on the next one, which will not be a cube.
Okay.
Maybe a big rabbit. And then we've got some other ones that we're working on right now. So probably the other ones are not going to be like these. They're going to be different. There's going to be a bit of a different look to them.
Perfect. And that sounds like it'll fit in because this is very playful looking.
Yeah.
I understand that. Okay. Any other comments or questions before we make a motion on this? All right. Anybody want to make a motion? A motion, do we accept this as is or accept it with changes? Does anybody want to do that?
Well, okay, so should we make a motion to accept all 3 or individually? How about first the 2 Infinitian sculptures? I
I
make
think
a
that's fine.
motion to accept the 2 Infinitian sculptures for the Alpha Loop entrances.
Do I have a second?
I second
Okay. All those in favor of accepting them?
Aye.
All right, passes unanimously. And then the second vote? Somebody want to make a motion on the the balance?
I think and I know maybe we started this, but I did have more questions that they've answered it in this, but I just thought I'd bring it up about the cube one, that it is not a part of a logo, like it won't be used somewhere else in the Lakeview things.
No, the logo's the frame. that you
It's a
saw.
frame, right, and that, I think it was great that y'all showed us the entrance to Lakeview with that, because that was also a square with the Lakeview in it, but I'm just saying, just trying to clarify that, and it looks like that was already discussed at the public meeting, so, okay.
Okay.
So I suggest that we also approve the cube sculpture for the entrance of Lakeview.
Second?
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor? Okay, it passed unanimously. Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing it. When will they go up? Do we know?
Hopefully by end of next year, the target.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, for our second new business, we have a presentation from Nike and about Avalon storefront.
Hello, I'm Eric Barassa. I'm principal at Studio Superette. We were the architect of record on the tenant improvement project for Nike to fit out at the Avalon Center. This application is for the graphics that are proposed. Yes, this application is for the graphics, the artwork that's proposed to clad the facade. Currently, there are some existing aluminum composite panels that we're hopeful to put some artist work onto the facade of the building that we'll run through here. Yeah, that's a good format, sure. Just to orient you here.
Will you make sure there's a microphone, is there a microphone close by?
There we go.
Yeah.
To orient you to the center here, the main boulevard here, Avalon Boulevard, we're talking about the front facade that faces the pedestrian way, just right at the tip of my finger. A little back on the store itself. This is part of a larger rollout from Nike, but really the goal in the rollout is to sort of connect with the locale of the zip code and of the local consumer. A main way that they've done that from the exterior presentation of the stores is to create unique artwork that's tailored to the center and the local neighborhood in a way that sort of makes the space unique and makes it not just the swoosh, and it's about the brand and the internet business, but it's about the local persona that this may be a little more important to. These are just some references of other locations so you get a sense that the artwork is unique. This is an earlier example done in Glendale, California. This is just a rendering that we did prior to the opening, but it's indicative of the current condition. This is the footprint of the as-built facade, where we have these the aluminum composite panels we're planning on cladding, hoping to clad with graphics, are shown in white here, and it's a portal frame that sits proud of the existing brick finish of the podium of the larger building above. And then these are the two adjacent tenants. So really the boundary is from here over to here is what we're talking about today. Just a kind of a call to the color scheme that's been selected here. Sort of from here down is what's the presentation of color found inside the store, and there's a real goal to sort of unify the color palette with the interior of the store in terms of the permanent things, not the merchandise, but the shelving backdrop in these curtains, some of the artwork that's on the walls, and some of the area rugs that help to soften the retail space. A little bit about the artist. Nike has commissioned a number of artists. I believe there's 6 to 7 artists that have created digital content that is tailored to the locations. The figures with some color variations. The artist chosen for this location is Shauna X. There's a little biography on her, but Nike feels it's kind of a good fit of diversity and like a vibrancy that will help to bring more life to the center, specifically the Nike space. A little bit more about just the color palette as it relates to the color scheme at the entry, and then some of the other color palette in the interior furnishings of the space. This is really the heart of the application here, the proposed exterior elevation. These were sort of the boundaries that I mentioned earlier, and this is the flattened version of the proposed artwork. We're really only talking about the portal frame of these panels. So while it's important that it's cohesive, what's within the window area, if that's clear, is broadcast on silk-screened curtains that sit behind fixtures. So it's really this blue and white portal frame graphics that we're hoping to apply to the panels. So it's really a composition of the artist's artwork and then a localized, it's a interpretation of the suburban grid of Alpharetta, which is the line work that you're seeing sort of in this blue area and then trickling over to the white. So that's a kind of a deconstructed Google Maps version of the local geography. A simplified view of that, just to take off the approved lit signage and blade sign and make very clear what the expanse of the graphics is planned. A full presentation of what that might look like or would look like with the window graphics present, some of the furnishings inside. You can see the relatable color palette we mentioned earlier, and then the approved signage that's currently in place. I think it's worth mentioning too that the artwork is really meant to put, this is consumer driven by the female. They're hoping to engage with the local woman runner, woman athlete, and so you'll see the woman kind of leading and the woman larger scale on the portal frame. And here was just a conceptual rendering we created just to show the application of the graphics onto the existing aluminum panels. The material itself is much like a shrink wrap or a vinyl wrap that you might have on a car, but it's created by 3M and it's tailored specifically for an architectural application. This is just recalling one of the earlier slides showing the Glendale Center, but you can see here they have some of it on the glass, which we don't have, but this is an application of the vinyl film onto the aluminum panels. So it's actually applied by heat, so it bonds to the substrate through heat. And here's the specifications on this film. And some context of other artwork applications at the Avalon Center. To sort of head off some questions that tend to come up, Nike has done this at a number of centers now, the vinyl itself, so this is a very tried and tested product for them. I think probably the longest one has been up is about 1.5 years. It's had no required maintenance due to weathering. It stands up very well. It's applied kind of in sheets per panel, so if there were damage to a panel, it could be easily taken off and done in an overnight to see it back, maybe snow shoveling or something, but it can take moderate damage. It's not easy to peel off. You really need to find an edge. I think, again, the best reference might be if you've seen cars that have a patterned film applied to them. It's fairly durable. That takes a lot of abuse from the road and pebbles or whatever. It still will stand up pretty well. One last comment maybe is that this is intended for the duration of the lease, so it isn't something that's temporal or seasonal. This is meant to be long-standing and kind of create an identity for this location at this center. It's not something that is meant to be consistently evolving. It's supposed to be static in the nature of creating an identity for the Nike Alpharetta location.
Thank you, Eric. All right, do we have any questions for Eric?
Interject real quick.
Go ahead.
I'd like to invite someone up to give an overview of that context for Avalon. And if you
Oh,
would,
perfect. Thank you.
That'll help because this is Nike, but it'll kind of enlarge that context.
I appreciate that.
Hi, how are you? Can you guys hear? I don't know if I need this.
We just need your name.
Absolutely. My name is Michael Grebe. I am the CEO of Workshop. We're at 1643 North Humboldt Boulevard in Chicago, Illinois. I am the owner's representative and design manager for Avalon and have been involved in the project since 2012. I've personally overseen the design of almost every single storefront in the center since inception of the project. So we're exceptionally supportive of this design for the Nike storefront, and since day one, art is highly encouraged, especially in a commercial context. We absolutely adore what can be done and accomplished and have a long precedent. I think we've seen a small smattering of that today, but there are easily 6 to 8 unique applications where we've continued to try and introduce art into the Avalon Boulevard and the overall development, in addition to the larger permanent installations. Trends today obviously are within architecture. They vary and they've changed quite a great deal since we opened our first stores in 2014 to today. But As even in phase 2, one of the trends we ended up seeing with this is a more modern black and white and monotone architectural scheme. And for that reason, we're also supportive of this, and I think it's really great. However, what makes this so exciting is with Nike coming and adding a fresh face to our lineup, even in phase 2, and their introduction of color and action and movement along the boulevard. We think that this really balances well and creates a draw for all of our consumers and pedestrians to walk around and ultimately experience unique architectural and artistic expressions. And I think when Nike first presented it to us, we thought this was really going to bring, again, some fresh flavor and color to our facade. So I'd be happy to answer any additional questions about this. And again, we look at this as really I guess a gallery that we get to curate as well. You don't want to do everything the same, and we're excited about this fresh approach that only enhances what they're doing on the inside and bringing it outside. So thank you.
Well, thank you, and thank you for coming in from Chicago, right?
It's my
a little
pleasure.
warmer down here, hopefully. All right, do we have some questions for our presenters? Go ahead.
So one of the things when I was looking at this was, so why did we, and maybe our commission wasn't around yet, why didn't we also approve the Johnny Was sign or the El Felix, Super Rica places? I'm just curious, why are we having that this time?
Avalon has a storefront and signage package that was approved when the whole business or whatever was set up.
Yeah, with the development agreement, it's fundamental to our criteria. However, my understanding is the scale is changing of this, and when it was submitted through the traditional, the DRB, that it was asked to be brought to council for a greater look. And so that's why we're here today.
Okay, so it's really, we're looking at it because of the scale?
To the best of my knowledge, yes.
I think you're looking at it because council wanted, you guys weren't, and Kim can talk too, you weren't here when this first took place.
When the first ones were in.
And council feels more comfortable with you looking at it because it's kind of an artistic piece, right?
I mean, it is artistic. I'm not judging that at all,
No, it's a great
definitely.
question.
Yeah.
As these different developments are done in these plans, like with the Alpha Loop, they'll come to you and send people to you to ask for art direction. Like, does this look good? Is the scale of the figure, is it too large for the environment? Does it need to be a different color? They'll give some feedback. So they're looking for art direction on these pieces. It's a little different than like the sculptures or an actual mural piece. So they're meant to be a little simpler. They'll usually come with the sign ordinance or things already approved from the designer review board, and we're just kind of tweaking that process through to make sure it fits the environment and looks and adds to the environment. So,
Okay, that makes sense. So, but we're like a public art group. So is this public art? Well, I guess I'm not judging. I'm just saying, we're throwing this out here, trying to figure out our criteria as we go along. I'm not saying we shouldn't approve it because I think it's great. It fits all the criteria. Just saying that, how do we fall into this category? This is for my fellow commissioners' question more than anything.
I agree with you, Mary Beth, and I do. I'm sorry, James. Did you
No, I
want to say
just wanted to speak to that. I do remember when we initially started, Morgan did say that there would be other platforms and spaces that we would have to approve for council. So I'm just thinking it's a little time consuming because we're here now. And the understanding from the beginning was that council would lean on us to make those decisions. So this is where
we are.
play that part.
So maybe we have different categories of public art? Is that
I
it?
think so, and I do agree with you, Mary Beth and Jean, that maybe this is something we should discuss in the near future about these different criteria. But for right now, to help them move
forward, right.
move forward with this first would be a priority.
And I have some questions for you so that we understand how Avalon operates with tenants and how you internally process that, so we can make processes that will make it easier for you. down the road.
Great.
So some of my questions were already answered, but I think I'd like to ask them again so that we have it all together in one place. Sure. You said, my question was, how long is this going to be active? How often do you anticipate rotating that? Because it is branded. So you said that it's for the duration of the lease. How long is the lease, if I may ask?
It's 7 years.
7 years. Okay, so within the 7 years, we anticipate, because it's private American properties, North American properties.
Correct.
We anticipate that Avalon will be the go-to to make sure that this is maintained and kept up and, good standing and all that. So those were some of the questions, because we knew this was private property, not public art, right? So this is where we're getting.
Right, it does fall into that, that gray area, and we're in limbo. So we were advised to come and present to you today.
No, this is all good. And I think, well, we are new, so figuring out the process is good. So I think a lot of the questions that we had or concerns that we had with regard to the upkeep and, the whole maintenance, and do we consider this art or is it branded art? And I think that kind of answers the question there. Do you have suggestions for the way you approach the city in terms of process? What made it easy or hard for you that we could look at as we're setting this up?
We'd certainly love to have that discussion. We have begun, again, outlining how that would work for you as well as us. And I don't have a clear established path, but we definitely have some suggestions and would love to work with you guys to establish what that protocol would be to use your time and also input and guidance to the best of our ability. Again, we are going to be working with multiple brands we have to date, and it's fallen under a wide variety of categories. But I think, again, utilizing your advice and guidance would also be helpful. We have our opinion on what we like to see, and again, any time that a commercial brand is willing to take the next step in what we consider art and bringing design from the inside to the outside, that thematically is something we're very supportive of. And again, a large debate: is it architecture? Is it art? Is it branding? Is it signage? And I think because it was in between, it certainly does not categorize as signage from our perspective or even the DRB's perspective. It just ended up falling into a new zone, so we're here today. I'd definitely love to work with you guys and share perhaps a procedure that would be easier and efficient.
We'd love to have you come to Atlanta anytime, but
I love being here. Believe it or not, it's my home away from home. So,
a question,
yeah,
and you can correct me, but usually in your lease agreements, the maintenance is always on the.
It is.
And like your CAM charges, you have CAM and.
That's absolutely
those things.
correct,
Right.
Mr.
So
Andrews.
they would be responsible for the.
The tenant is responsible for the upkeep and maintenance.
Right.
For any damage done to theirs. We, as the landlord, end up having that.
Which is private.
That's
so.
correct. We
Exactly.
have the legal ability to enforce that and/or repair it ourselves if should they not honor their lease agreement. And again, those durations they vary per tenant, but again, typically
Right.
between 5 and 10 years is the
Yeah,
standard lease.
it's all in your lease negotiation, like you have your CAM charges and all of that.
That is absolutely
Yeah,
positively
so
correct.
that wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
so I think 7 years from a store perspective seems like a long time to not do any upgrades, right? So is there a thought that maybe within those 7 years there could be changes to this?
I don't believe that's the intent right now. The design is really intended to be a permanent one for us. It is common, and with all of our tenants, that actually at that 7 year, there's a required refresh of brand to align with what the latest and greatest, whether that's interior or exterior. So that would be something that might happen after those 7 years.
Okay, good. And one other question. So this would this be an exclusive or non-exclusive print? Can you answer?
Oh.
Yeah, sure. This would be exclusive in the arrangement of the figures, the coloring of the figures, and certainly the contextual graphic print that I mentioned about the suburban grid.
You will see this no other place, but in Alpharetta, you will see it on no merchandise. You will see it on, this is really, it is a one-of-a-kind original for us based upon Nike's overall thematic.
So it's marked in terms of trademarked for?
It's not per se, but you'll see it. The brand is keen to actually debrand, which is something kind of rare for Nike to show apparel and a presentation of footwear on an athletic form without any swoosh or labeling. It is very much meant to be. It is meant to be artwork genuinely. To kind of connect to that local consumer and not have it just be about, Nike, 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 Nike. There's already a big swoosh, as signage.
I would say, though, like from the photos that you showed us, too, that these figures are quite similar to the other Nike Live stores. And they are using signage, I live in Avalon, so around there that is promoting this. So we're sort of in that gray area again that we hit once before with the Be Rich campaign mural, where each one of these is original, but the concept and the overall look is being not replicated, but inspired in other areas. So it is sort of a campaign, a branding.
I'd like to think a triptych, which is very common with
artists, yes.
With artists, right? I mean, Monet has a lot of similar work of haystacks, and we can choose different lighting and different elements, but they are all specifically geared towards that particular mood and environment. I think that while Nike obviously has an overall theme that they're looking to inspire, I can only speak from referential experience. Something in, say, the Triangle might be akin to, up in North Carolina, might be focusing on a different series of sports and focus based on its locality than what we're specifically dealing with the consumer base and the inspiration of Alpharetta.
I think the other thing, too, is that in this, just to clarify my point, is that I would say this is a storefront. They're not pretending not to be what they are. So the other one, the other mural that came to us, wanted it on the side of a City of Alpharetta public building. But it was promoting their, not necessarily, it wasn't a bad thing, it was great, we loved it, et cetera, but it maybe wasn't appropriate for the space. This is definitely appropriate for the space. I mean, it serves its intent as new signage, it's art-enriched signage. I mean, it has all of those factors to me. So it's not pretending to be anything it's not. So.
Yeah, I agree.
We hope that when you're walking through Avalon, you do know where you are, and that we're also actually hoping to elevate and inspire that beyond it.
I also don't think there's that much of this in Avalon right now, which is something we don't want it to be over-commercialized, but so this is a good, as we go forward, we want to do that too.
Agreed, and I think that will be the process and procedure. We do agree more isn't always more, in our opinion, and as I had made mention, I'm one of the people fundamentally responsible for curating how Avalon Boulevard and the adjacent streets look on behalf of ownership. So all of these, I have to balance what do we have, what have it, and so we don't, and we're trying to inspire each individual brand to change given their context and what's already there. So.
Very cool.
No, I just said, I agree. It's just like to answer your question as well. Nike is basically, it's brand awareness. And in the awareness, you have your brand activation, you have all of those things. So, I mean, I don't think it's overbearing that your other tenants won't have that. They're in competition. Nike does what they do. They sell shoes and workout stuff, and as you said, that's the awareness that they should, that you're basically sending that message out. So it's not like Nike has Apple computers in the store, so.
No, and we do have multiple brands that have similar, obviously similar wares that are competing, perhaps much to their chagrin, but those things are not.
It's not a competition.
Not per se.
Even though Lululemon just moved
I have
really
one more-
close to it.
I have one more question about the usage, I guess. Are you anticipating to do any kind of campaigns around the different locations and the different backgrounds?
Yeah, there is the kind of the campaign strategy would be there's a window, a number of kind of banner canvases. There's one that's illuminated in the storefront here, and that's where the messaging is really supposed to happen for the consumer. They want to pull your eye directly to the door to say, kind of come in, and then should you enter, there's some more local branding about when the next run meeting may be. But that's all inside of the actual storefront display, not within the presentation of the facade.
Okay, but technically speaking, I guess, so and I didn't even think about the running clubs, but they
Yeah.
could meet in front of this wall, take a photo, we're running 8 a.m. every Saturday morning, and boom, everybody knows where it is.
Yes.
So, yes, it helps Nike, it helps the club, it helps everybody, but yes, it's branded again. I'm not saying anything against it, but that was the answer to, yeah. So that makes all sense, and I like it. It's
Yeah,
all
you
good.
can see that here, the white.
All right, do we have any more questions? All right.
I've got one question. So I'm assuming that you have some sort of approval process that you have internally for a storefront's work.
That is correct.
And I'm also assuming that any work that you present to us, you've already rubber stamped it as a, yes, we like this.
That is correct.
Okay.
I-
Good.
I-
Good.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
I mean, we don't want to be an intermediary between a tenant and a landlord.
I appreciate that, and the answer is no. That is not our intent by any stretch.
And then I've got a question for Nike. Who owns the intellectual property?
Nike does, yeah.
Okay. And is the artist featured?
They are, yes. Actually, this was another example of the same artist that we did about a month and a half ago in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. And they actually hosted the artist to come for the opening and celebrate her with coasters and some giveaways learn a little more about the artist. Here's her website. So they are represented as producing it. It's not that Nike hides who did the work.
Okay.
It's celebrated in that way to celebrate the artist, because I think it's important that for them that they're not claiming that Nike created the artwork.
I just came back from Guadalajara, and in Guadalajara, a lot of these murals had little cute QR codes that you would go up to it, and then if you scanned it, it would give the history of the artist, and it just added some depth.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Mm-hmm.
You can have it.
It's a pretty overwhelming thing for them now to create, like, the digital interface is kind of the intervention they're really trying to play with these locations. How do you connect to the consumer in a digital way? And so that's very much at the forefront. It's something I'll pass along of their current development strategy.
Any chance this artist has connections to Alpharetta?
No,
That's
she's
when we come in the
Chinese.
game again.
Not that I'm aware of. Yeah, I think she's New York based.
All right, awesome. Okay, if there's no more questions, can I get a motion on, should we accept this? Matthew, are you going to make a motion? And Arjun?
Motion to accept.
And then we got a second? Okay. One motion and a motion to accept it as it is. All right. Let's put it to a vote. Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Can we make a clarification to it?
I think we just,
I think that was the motion. So
Okay.
let's vote.
No, because I thought after the second motion, we could make a stipulation to it.
You can ask if you would like to make a friendly amendment and ask
That's
Matthew
what
if you would like.
okay, that's what I was waiting.
I apologize. We're kind of a new commission.
So I just wanted to make a friendly amendment and to discuss the idea that as the Public Art or the Cultural Arts Commission, we're approving this as art-enriched signage and not as a part of public art.
Can't do that because we don't approve signage, so we can't say
Okay.
anything about signage, so you can, I mean, we're basically, basically being brought to us because council brought it to us as far as I mean, Kim, you want to talk about it?
Okay, all right. I'm
Just
sure.
rewording
I'm,
it maybe,
Yeah.
That
just
could
so
be-
it's not, just saying it's not by the
public.
definition of a mural, maybe defining it as that third element you had spoken.
so it's
about.
not, it's not as public art mural, but as, I don't know what else you would call it then.
As a digital art installation or
A
something?
digital art, I know, it's not digital though.
An art enrichment feature to a sign or an art, something like that. I think we have to come up with that term.
I mean, does it matter? Does it matter?
Can I-
It matters to me.
Can I ask another, the question is,
Hold on
can
one
I?
second.
Oh,
Wait,
Never know when to
he
talk.
has to, she's asking you if you'll accept that as a friendly amendment, and you have to say whether or not you'll accept it, and then you guys can discuss it.
Oh, okay. So, you want me to restate my amendment?
It's
Would
not a mural and is that commercial art?
Yes,
Is that the,
yes.
Sure.
Thank you for putting it that way.
Now you can ask.
Now you have a question.
My question is, can we ask council not to present these kind of projects to this board? I mean, this is not public art.
No.
And they've got an advisory committee, and they've got good taste, and
they have
so.
the RB?
But Jean, remember Jean said too, we were going to get different things.
I get it, but this is a good example of something that we really shouldn't have jurisdiction over.
I think we're going to address that in our public art guidelines moving forward, and that's something that we've been working on.
And that's why I wanted to make a clarification here, moving forward. So, okay.
All right, Elle, do you have that motion with
So
the
your-
amendment?
The motion is to accept as is with the condition that it is not a mural, but is commercial art.
Yes.
Okay, I think we're all good with that. If you're good with that. All right, everybody in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Great discussion. I appreciate it. Thank you.
So much for your time today.
Thank you.
I hope I get to see you again.
All right, the last thing is, do we have any items from us, the commissioners, to share? Oh, Morgan has something he wants to share. Go for it, Morgan.
You know, I'm not going to miss an opportunity to say a few words. And I think one of the things I want to do is to take a minute and enjoy the moment that, you know, the idea, and I know we've got to clarify what comes to this group, and I think that's something that our staff, along with this commission, along with community development, all have to work on. But I think it's exciting that the commission is at the table when we're talking about public art. You know, when you talk about a major development coming in along West Side, and then you're talking about Avalon, which was one of our things we brag about, they're coming to this group asking for direction. I think we need to take a minute and realize how quickly we got here, that we are the group, y'all are the group that they look to now for this direction. And we got to clarify that, but I don't want to necessarily throw the baby in the bathwater out, say, no, don't do this anymore. I would like for this group to continue to be part of that process as we move forward, but we got to define that better. So I don't want to miss the opportunity to look at that we're making y'all are making major decisions that are affecting what we're doing in this community, and particularly the TSA. That's a major development. I mean, it's like $80 million development coming into town, and so I don't want to miss that. The other thing I want to miss is that now that we've got our staff here, is I want you to realize, remember, again, 4 years ago, go back as short as 4 years ago, there was one full-time professional in the city of Alpharetta that was dealing with arts. Now we have 4 professional staff doing the art for the city of Alpharetta. So let's don't miss that as well. We are in a great place here, and great things are going to happen, and I'm excited about it. And we'll work out all the details. We'll keep moving forward, but I love the intersection. I personally love the intersection of art, commercial, all of this different things. Who's got it? We just got to figure it out. Who knew we'd be here in such a short time at this particular crossroads? So let's enjoy it and move forward, and we'll clean all that up to everybody's understanding and agreement. So Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Morgan. Unless there's any, do you have something, Gene?
Yeah, just have an Indie Mart coming up this weekend, and I'm excited about it, thanks to Janet Rogers and the Convention and Visitor Bureau. We've doing Union Hill, and we're doing it Market at the Hill. So we're really excited about that from 11 to 6 on Saturday and Sunday. So we got about 60 vendors.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. All right, everybody, if there's nothing else, we are adjourned. Thank you. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.